we are filing 3 counts of murder charges against Isaiah Von Pulu. Those charges are being filed as we speak. Before I talk to you about the underlying investigation and facts of the filing of the charges, I just want to thank West Valley Police Department, Chief Jacobs, and their support in this, and also to our staff of attorneys as well as our social workers who have also been in contact with the family, parents of the 3 deceased. This is a matter that, as you know, that happened on February 6th, and here are the basis on why we're filing 3 counts of murder in depraved indifference to human life. The statement of West Valley City Police Officer T. Cropper that on February 6, 2026, officers responded to 2730 South High Parkway Garage number 8 in Salt Lake County regarding 3 unconscious males. Dispatch advised that the 3 unconscious males had been located inside a black Toyota Senna van inside a garage. The 3 unconscious males were removed by the van and received medical care from West Valley fire medics and officers. The 3 males were identified as TJ, who had been sitting in the front passenger seat, MM, who had been sitting in the second row seats, and CM, who had been sitting in the third row seats of the van. TJ, MM, and CM were later declared to be deceased. Standing nearby at that time was Isaiah Von Pulu, who was the driver of the van. It is important as we talk about these charges, these are allegations only. There's a presumption of innocence that applies to Mr. Pulu, as is our system. The statement of SS that he is the CEO of Safe and Sound, and Safe and Sound works with disabled individuals in the state system. SS stated that TJ and MM and CM were in custody of the state of Utah, who had contracted with Safe and Sound for their care. 2 of the victims were nonverbal, and all 3 victims were dependent on caretakers for their daily needs. TJ, MM, and CM were placed in a day program in which they are picked up by a caregiver who watches them for part of the day. Pulu was assigned as their caregiver on this day. SS stated that Pulu was supposed to be on an outing with TJ, MM, and CM at a community location, the park, or the mall, and should have returned them to the program facility by 1:30 p.m. SS stated that when Pulu did not return by 1:30 p.m., the office called Pulu. Pulu told SS that he took one of the clients into his home, and when he returned, he found the other 2 males unresponsive in the van. SS told police that he did not think that made sense because he was aware that all 3 males were deceased. SS then said that Pulu told him that the vehicle was running. SS stated that he did not know why Pulu brought the males to his personal residence, and Pulu was not allowed to leave TJ, MM, and CM alone because of the possibility that they would wander off. The statement by West Valley City Fire Department, Lloyd, that the CO2 alarms were going off in the apartments located above the garage. This is a place that is an apartment complex, and there are garages that are not necessarily tied to each apartment complex, and then there are residents who are above the garages that are there. West Valley City Fire used monitors that showed that the CO levels in the apartments above the garage got as high as 600 parts per million. The residents were evacuated until the levels showed 0. In a post-Miranda interview, Pulu stated that he worked for Safe and Sound, and his responsibility was to pick up the clients from their various group homes and bring them to the central office. Pulu stated that he picked up CM, MM up and went to the second home to pick up TJ. Pulu stated that they got to the office around 900 hours or 9 a.m. Pulu stated that TJ was being rowdy, so he decided to take them all for a drive. Pulu was supposed to drop all of 3 of the individuals at the office around 1300 hours or 1 p.m. Pulu stated that he drove TJ, MM, and CM around for about 30 to 45 minutes before deciding to go home. Pulu said that he was trained to use isolation as de-escalation, so Pulu took them to his home and parked the van in his garage around 10 a.m. Pulu told TJ to stay with the other two, that he was going to go up to his room and then he'd come back later. Pulu stated that he left the van running, the heater or the AC on, and the windows down, and left the garage door open. Pulu stated that he took the garage door opener with him, but there was a button on the wall to open and close the garage door. Pulu stated, "I just wanted to get some food and watch my show," end quote. Pulu stated that he went up to his apartment around 10:30 to 10:45, came back down around 13:30 and found the garage door closed, TJ, MM, and CM unresponsive. Pulu stated that once he noticed that they were unresponsive, he called his mother in a panic and then received a call from his work and then placed the 911 call. Pulu then clarified that he took the garage clicker and van keys with him. When asked about leaving clients alone after picking them up from the group home, Pulu stated that he's allowed to put them in isolation by themselves, but they're supposed to be in the vicinity. Detectives asked if Pulu was concerned about leaving TJ with the others in the van, since he said that TJ had a history of attacking people. Pulu responded, "I didn't. I just thought it was going to be just another day," end quote. Pulu then stated that he was trying to gain weight, that he needed to eat, and wanted to watch his anime. Pulu stated that he had taken clients to his home before and has left them in the van before. Detectives obtained, as part of the investigation, employment records for Pulu that included an employee warning notice dated January 6 of 2026. In this notice, the defendant was reprimanded for client abandonment because he had left 3 clients unsupervised for 30 minutes while they were waiting for their transport. Pulu signed the document the same day acknowledging receipt of the warning. Detectives, as part of the investigation, obtained Ring doorbell video surveillance that shows Pulu entering the apartment at approximately 9:09 hours, and he is not seen leaving his apartment. At 13:32 hours, the video captures Pulu returning to his apartment and then leaving and returning to his apartment several more times. The 911 call is placed at 1353 hours. Detectives listened to the 911 call made by Pulu. Pulu told dispatch that his clients were in his work van, they were having an incident, and that they didn't want to leave the van. Pulu stated that he came back to the work van and none of them were responsive. Pulu stated that he works for an agency with people with disabilities. Pulu told the dispatch that his clients were in the work van in his garage and the van was running. When asked if clients were breathing, he said he wasn't sure. When asked if he could open the garage, Pulu stated, "Yeah, it's been open. I just opened it up and I kept it open." Dr. Amaro with the Office of Medical Examiner conducted an autopsy on TJ, MM, and CM. Dr. Amaro located no trauma or physical injuries on TJ, MM, and CM. Dr. Amaro stated that the cause of death would most likely be CO poisoning, but that would have to be confirmed by toxicology, and at this time, toxicology results are pending. So based on the information, the investigation today, as we're speaking, we filed 3 counts of murder, a depraved indifference to human life, knowingly engaged in conduct which created a grave risk of death to another and thereby caused the death of another. I'm happy to answer any limited questions.
Can you explain more this depraved indifference to human life? Because, I mean, obviously he didn't intend to kill him, we think, but a first-degree felony would indicate that it's a little more than recklessness, that he, explain why
Yeah.
first-degree felony.
Well, first of all, again, as we stated in our probable cause statement, he says that he doesn't get there till after 10, that he's there for a short period of time. But what the ring camera shows is that he's actually there at 9:09. So he comes pretty much immediately from the center, and then he's there ostensibly for almost 4.5 hours. And that you see him moving only on the rig camera that is prior to the 911 call. And so that was a very important part of that concern, that there are 3 individuals who are disabled individuals who need oversight and care from folks, that they are left unattended with the vehicle running and did it for an extended period of time. There's also been a warning that he had earlier that said that he cannot leave people unattended, which is aware of, and that was a very short period of time within which that happened. And so as we continue to investigate, that became a huge concern. Of importance to note here is that although we mentioned this in our probable cause statement, the CO2, the poisoning that occurred, note that there were apartments that were above there, and after people had, fire had responded, those alarms were going off, and in the upstairs apartment over the garage, it was 600 parts per million. What the data shows is that 200 parts per million can cause death and be fatal over hours. 800 parts per million can happen, cause death within in minutes. So when we took all of these issues at this time, we believe that the charges at this time, based on what was presented to our homicide team, that they are appropriate.
Can you outline your request for no bail as well? I know you have some comments in here about that.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, this is a very serious allegation, but it is absolutely critically important. That's all it is right now. It's an allegation. The presumption of innocence applies, and applies to Mr. Pulu at this time. And but nonetheless, these are allegations of 3 homicides, 3 vulnerable individuals, and that is about as serious as you can get. So this is a risk to our community. There's a concern about him fleeing, so based on that, consistent with our practice, we've asked for a no bail hold.
So you mentioned the garage.
Hold on, I'm sorry.
Could have been even worse potentially for the folk upstairs.
As I mentioned, that is absolutely a concern based on the objective facts that were presented. That there had been some passage of time. The alarms are going on upstairs. People have to be evacuated, and it was approximately 600 parts per million in the upstairs apartment, not the garage, in the upstairs apartment after the passage of some time. So there was some concern, of course, the impact on those other folks from just a medical health perspective.
You had mentioned that Pulu took the garage clicker and the van keys. Sometimes these vans, when caring for patients like these, have child lock on. Was there any indication that child lock was on?
Again, I don't want to go into the details on that. We state that for the statement that he gave and provided to us. Of course, as I said, we have 3 individuals who require the constant care as wards of the state, and they need that adult supervision, and they were left alone in there. And as far as what he took, when he took, I assume that will all get played out as we go forward. I just put it in there based on what he provided to us.
That's something at this point you guys have not ruled out whether child lock is on. That's part of the investigation.
Again, I would not want to comment on it at this time.
You
Yeah.
mentioned that he had been reprimanded before for leaving clients unattended for 30 minutes in the past. Was it with the same clients, any of them?
No, I don't want to get into the specifics of those clients. What we do know is that he was reprimanded for that abandonment, and that client abandonment there is of course concerned when you're dealing with individuals who maybe some may be mobile, but they're under the constant need of supervision of an adult that's there. And as we said in our probable cause, this car is parked in, and the garage is actually a very tight garage. It's not a large garage. If you think of it as just a square box, when you open the doors, it's very tight. And so it was within that confined space for multiple hours that he had left them unattended. Yeah. And so he had been warned before. That's of course concern to us, that he knows that that's not something he's supposed to do. That's not what the expectation of what his responsibilities are.
Did his employer or anybody else get in touch with police or authorities about that?
I'm sorry?
Did his employer or anybody else get in touch with police or authorities about that prior time?
No, this is something that was something that, as part of our investigation, as the West Valley officers started to investigate it, as they continue to gather other additional information, that's what was learned through that process.
Does anybody else face potential charges
I think that would be speculative at this time for us to talk about that. Our focus was on these 3 individuals, disabled young adults, and at that, and that's where we are focused at this moment. I'm sorry.
Does the prior reprimand factor into the depraved indifference acceleration of the charge?
I think that it certainly is of concern that it speaks to both the expectation and the responsibility and the vulnerability of the individuals who are under his charge. So this isn't speculative. In that sense, it was important that he knows, and it helps us establish that he was aware of that vulnerability and that he was warned about that. And then as we state in our probable cause statement, we do have a temporal line that we can create. There was a representation that he didn't get there till 10 or 10:30. What we know is that immediately after he left the place of business there, that he got there approximately 9:09, and that he had gone up there, and then we don't really see movement till almost 4.5 hours later.
So can I ask a question about the garage door? Do you think that he had left that open? Like, how did the garage door get closed at a certain point? Do you have any idea that way?
Again, I think that's something that will probably get discussed as we go forward. I think that, as we've stated in our probable cause statement on what we've stated thus far, is that we certainly know that 3 individuals succumbed to CO2 poisoning, carbon monoxide poisoning, and also we know that several hours later what those concentration levels were in the upstairs apartment. And so I think there's an inference to be drawn there, but those are the facts that we've been presented with at this time. And again, these are allegations only at this time.
According to this document you guys handed us, it said that Pulu told authorities specifically that his role was to take clients from their home to the central office and back to their home. However, it says the CEO said that Pulu told him that they're going to go to the mall or to the park. Through your investigation, was he supposed to take them anywhere else but to the central office after taking them?
Our understanding is that these individuals are assigned to them. They're taken out on outings. That's part of the process that they're involved in. And as the CEO says, that means taking them to the park, taking them to the mall, to engage them in activities. And that's what you do. And so the children, these young adults are picked up in the morning. They come back, and then they get back or to the office around 1:30 to start to take them back to their residences. So within that time period, the role of this individual is to take them on outings, to keep them engaged, to keep them supervised, and that's sort of the process. If you read the probable cause statement, based on what the detectives indicated, that while they met earlier, it was a very short period of time where he came back immediately to his residence and put them in the garage.
And so because it seems like you have learned at least a portion of what their policies and procedures are, a lot of it listed in this document, you mentioned these patients were nonverbal. We spoke to the victims. One of them had severe autism. Sometimes the symptom is aggression, let alone being unsupervised. Did you learn anything about whether it's supposed to be one caretaker for 3 patients?
Again, those are other collateral issues, but I think as you've said, we're talking about 3 young adults who are very care dependent. They are disabled to the extent that they need that constant supervision and support, and that is the responsibility of those who are supposed to participate in that. It's an ongoing investigation in terms of we're continuing to gather additional information, but for purposes of today, these are the things that we've learned through the investigation, and it was the consensus of our homicide team review at that time that these charges at this stage are appropriate, and so we filed them.
Any obstruction charges? Enough evidence for that?
Again, those are sometimes you see those as those investigations go forward, and those are things that we constantly look through as we continue to gather evidence if there are any additional charges. But for the purposes of today, this is what we had that was presented to our homicide team. We went through the discussion in the last 24, 48 hours, and we wanted to make sure that we filed the charges that were consistent with the evidence gathered thus far. Those aspects that you're talking to, Pat, are ongoing, and we're continuing to explore any other potential.
So additional charges aren't out of the question at this point.
What's that?
Additional charges are possible?
It's like any investigation. We have an idea of what we have at the moment, and sometimes we learn things that may change our original filing, and sometimes we learn things that may supplement them, both in terms of evidence or sometimes in new charges. So that issue, in terms of all the other things that are connected to this, are being looked at.
They were in DSPD custody?
They are certainly in state custody, yes.
Do you know which agency?
Not right off the top of my head, which specific agency.
Your office is prosecuting a number of cases where there's similar allegations in that the caretaker with an agency didn't do their job right and someone got hurt or died because of it. Do you see similarities here?
No, I think it would be too speculative to say that, but I think it does capture a point that I think your point, which I would concede. There are individuals who are vulnerable, and many times we do see cases of caretakers, and that can be within family settings or certainly state settings. And that creates a heightened responsibility, given the vulnerability that they are. And the more that you work in that space and the more that you're aware, and to the extent that you neglect that, would, I think, contribute to the kind of mental state that would support the kind of charges that we filed. But I think that is still a very sobering point for everyone who has that responsibility of care with people, whether they're a state agency or not, that these issues can go wrong very quickly, especially with vulnerable adults who are in your care. Yeah.
Just to clarify, are you saying that these patients were wards of the state?
Yes, they were. Yeah, that's correct.
And then just to clarify another thing, when asked about additional charges, the way I interpreted that was potential additional charges for Hulu, but you said it was speculation earlier. You can shut me down again if you want, but for all intents and purposes, it seems like what's in here suggests that Hulu is a lone wolf. But if he is in fact operating under a company that may have certain practices or procedures that may, further these kind of practices, I would have to imagine you guys would want to protect the clients that they do have in any new find. So is that part of the investigation?
No, I think that it's safe to say that right now the focus is this particular tragic incident that happened. And then, of course, as law enforcement and others start to look into it, we continue to gather information and facts. Now, having said that, there are also state agencies that have that responsibility to follow up on that in terms of certification, protocols, safeguards that are in the place of that. We get involved only to the extent that those allegations rise to a level of criminal charges. And of course, as we continue to work this, to Pat's earlier question, we continue to examine every bit of evidence that comes our way to see if it implicates anything else, right? But I think to Annie's point and to everyone else out there, that these are serious responsibilities. There are processes and protocols in place to safeguard and protect the most vulnerable, and I think everybody needs to pay attention to what that entails. Any other questions?
Not to get ahead of things, but what is that enhancement, the Craig difference to potentially the sentencing?
I think that would be, again, inappropriate and speculative. I think what it does right now is that we have a conduct, we have a law, we believe that we have sufficient probable cause to warrant the filing of that. And as you know, for many years that you've covered these kind of matters, that is a fluid reality of every prosecution that we have. And again, let me just underscore, these are allegations only. There's a presumption of innocence that applies here. That is our process. And Mr. Pulu deserves that same expectation as well. That burden is on us. Any other questions? Okay, thank you.